I came to Beverley in January of 2002, and it was a very different place then. There were 32 students. The walls were very white. It was a very kind of sterile hospital environment. And I knew as soon as I came in the door and I felt the vibe about Beverley that this place could be an amazing school, an amazing education center for these kids, because the kids were always fantastic. The kids weren't in a hospital, the kids weren't sterile. They were alive and they were bright and they were vibrant. So we started out trying to make Beverley into a school and a community. And over the years, with the help of some of the most amazing teachers I've ever seen. It doesn't matter if they're teaching special ed kids, any children they would teach, they would be incredible teachers. The respect they have for the children, their ability to think that anything is possible, that together we can just make it happen, has been amazing. Instead of having a sappy, tearful goodbye, we decided to do a little walk around the school and explain some of the areas that have changed at Beverley over the years. This area here, which is affectionately known as the pit now, was the toy library. How it became the toy library was that Beverley had a partnership with the Metropolitan Association for the Mentally Handicapped, and they had toys in here, and kids would come in and they would teach them how to play. So it was known as the toy library. When Beverley became part of the Toronto District School Board, the toy library was disbanded and we had this space here. So when I first came to Beverley, this was all white, very sterile. And we decided, wouldn't it be nice to put some color in, have something for the kids to play in? But now it's all sterile again because there's nothing that the kids can play on. Anyways, we decided we were going to do this wall here. But this is the second attempt at the wall. The first attempt was building paper mache trees that came up, where that tree is painted. There was a paper mache tree. Started it before the summer, and when I came back after the summer holidays, Mario said to me, I have some good news for you and I have some bad news for you. I said, well, what's the bad news? And he said, all the mice in the building have made their nests in the tree, and the good news is we have to take the tree down and we've got all the mice. So thus the mural started. If you notice around the school, Dave Rolfe has brought a lot of color and beauty to the school, and a lot of this is Dave's work. But it was also a joint effort by teachers, students, and some OCAD students. And there was a calendar in the room, Karen Zabel's room, and this was the calendar picture. And we decided that this would look great here. So Dave and I and Dean and anybody else that could wanted to draw, paint, participate. This is how this mural came. These platforms come from Christy and Gray's mother, who was on a set, and they didn't know what to do with them afterwards, and she phoned and said, do you want them? And we said, sure. And so that's how this area sort of became as colorful as it is. And here we have a bunny bench. My partner of 35 years passed away last year, and the community at Beverley was so generous in the donations that they gave in his memory that we were able to buy this bench for the kids to use, and before they go into the Snoezelen Room, they have somewhere to sit down and take off their shoes. And again, it's got a kind of a purple theme to it. Nothing to do with the Snoezelen Room, but I just want to point out once again Dave Rolfe's beautiful artwork enhancing the school at Beverley. Also last year we got a donation of $30,000 from Jacob's Ladder Foundation, and so when COVID is over, this whole room will be revamped. There's new mats, there's new sensory things, the whole room will be different thanks to Jacob Schwartz and his family. And this is another example of Dave Rawls' beautiful work. We were trying to figure out, it was a blank wall, and we thought, you know, the kids come in and they walk against the wall and they have nothing to see or to go to. So Dave painted the sun and rainbow on this wall, and for years we watched the kids come in, and a lot of them will come and look at the sun. It looks like they're talking to the sun in the morning, and it's just made the place a lot more cheery. These doors, 2 women came in from the neighborhood who are artists, and they didn't have any work, and they were trying to find a way that they could make a little bit of money so they could pay their rent. So being community minded, I said, sure, you can paint something. We got lots of walls. Anyway, so we decided to paint these doors because when the kids come in and walk along here, they were just plain doors with nothing to look at, nothing to touch on. So we decided to paint the doors just to give the kids another sensory experience as they go to their classrooms. For the past 3 years, we've had a partnership with OCAD, the design people, and last year, 3 young men designed the sensory wall for our students. It's really great. I mean, if your back is itchy, you can rub against it. The kids love to go like this. And then for a lot of kids that like to look at themselves, it's perfect. There's a mirror at the end. It's beautiful. They really finished it off with a beautiful piece of wood. I was kind of very impressed at that, actually the finished product. So I learned something really important. When a reality show comes to do something to fix up your plays or fix up the school, and it looks so easy on camera, that's because everybody worked their asses off to make it happen. And this is one of the examples. We had Evergreen, a part of home TV program, that decided to green our open area. Unfortunately, none of the green is left. But one of the projects was cutting out these leaves, and parents that came to help splatter painted the birds and the leaves with their children. It was a lot of fun. They were outside on the loading dock splattering, and they also put these bamboo pieces here to create a little bit of storage space for the classrooms over here. They painted the walls, and this was guzzling green before. It was standard Toronto District School Board, orange and green. So getting purple, or this bluish periwinkle, was quite a coup. So in this area, just picture it. There used to be beautiful plants everywhere in planters. Big cedar planters everywhere with beautiful plants. Unfortunately, we couldn't really keep the plants alive, maybe a year. We had plants hanging from the ceiling with a watering system in this room that leaked, and we put in the bridge that everybody is waiting for me to leave so they can get rid of it. It used to look like water around the bridge, but that's gone. When did they change that?
Just recently.
Oh. Anyways, they're really getting ready for me to leave to take it out the bridge. And the trellis in front of the room there, it was kind of out more. We also had, before COVID, an area here that we called Squishy Town. It was all mats and things made out of foam. So the kids had a place to play in and climb, and so it looks very different. It was greened at one time, but sometimes your vision of things aren't realistic into keeping them alive. This is called the open area. This is the area in the school where all the wonderful, exciting events took place. All the wonderful dinners. We had a lot of potluck dinners. We had a lot of international kind of events. We had a Persian dinner, we had an Italian dinner, we had lunches. It was a place where the community started to become the community. It was also the area when Sabrina and Stacy won the Prime Minister's Award for teaching excellence, that we had our assemblies. Excuse me, when we celebrated the Special Olympics, this is where we had the ceremony. There's been many orchestras and music and just wonderful times. So many kids have danced and run and sang and smiled in this area. And every year, just before the Dream Serenade, we have a Dream Serenade performance at the school, which is set up here, the big stage, and hundreds of people come to it. And the joy and the feeling of love and togetherness and community is very much in this space. It's just a wonderful place. And I think all of us that have been at Beverley have had so many good fun times and so many nice experiences in this area. Every Friday until COVID, everybody met together in this area for Friday music, a real celebration of the community of Beverley, all the students and the teachers, and it was always fun. And at first we thought, oh, the kids have to sit and listen, you know, we're gonna be really enforce this. But as time went, we realized that every child is an individual and everybody listens to music in their own way. And so the kids that ran around and the kids that bounced and the kids that just sat mesmerized were all allowed to be themselves, to enjoy the music in any way they were able to enjoy it. Another project that we decided we were going to do was the Snoezelen pool. So one of the first things we decided to do was to make it look like a tropical desert. So we contracted this guy from somewhere to do a mural around the pool, so it gave it more atmosphere as to look like a tropical desert. And when I first saw the mock-ups, the parrot scared the bejesus out of me, but I got used to it. There's some other like weird animals on this mural, but we put it up and the kids absolutely loved it. Nobody touched it, nobody ran in the pool area anymore. It just like calmed everybody down. And the beauty of this is that it's done on vinyl, so it isn't affected by the water or the steam or the heat or even the kids touching it. And then we started on a Snoezelen pool, and what was in our minds something fantastic, in reality didn't really make it. I remember we ordered 200 tea lights, all beautiful. The place was dark and the tea lights were on. The first class of autistic students came in, and in 15 minutes there were 200 tea lights thrown everywhere around the pool area. And Lisa was there at the time and she said, no more, we can't do this anymore. We had a fountain that would spray water up. We tried all sorts of things. Unfortunately, it wasn't the kind of success that we thought it was going to be, but I think we all had a lot of fun planning it and trying it out. And at the end, we would make bets at how quickly the stuff would be thrown out of the pool that we put in. So now it's basically made into a Snoezelen pool for students with physical disabilities who want to chill out in the water in a really nice, calm atmosphere. I think one thing that none of us can forget is Uncle Norman. Every Christmas, Uncle Norman would come to Beverley with toys for the kids and cakes. It was one day I went into my office and there was this old little guy sitting at one of the chairs, and he says, "Remember me?" And I had no clue who he was. So I said, "Sure, I remember you." He says, "Good, I wanna bring gifts." I said, "Great, bring gifts." He says, "How many kids you got?" I said, "We have 90 kids." He says, "Oi, I only have 37 gifts." I said, "Well, that's okay, 37's fine." He says, no, I'll come back, I'll bring 90 gifts. He says, "How many kids you got?" I said, 90. He says, "Good, I want to bring a cake." I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." He says, "How many kids you got?" I said, 90. He says, "Oh, I better bring 2 cakes." And it was from then on, Uncle Norman came every Christmas with his 2 cakes and his gifts. And the most frightening thing about Uncle Norman was at 95 he was still driving his car. So I remember I used to get Ian to back the car out of the loading dock when Uncle Norman left. But just before Uncle Norman passed away, he came to school during Hanukkah, and I remember we made latkes and we danced, and Uncle Norman had his favorite story. One of the teachers asked Norman, he said, how come you're so young? What's behind your youth? And he says, I'll tell you what. He says, I have sex almost every day. So we all started to laugh. We said, what? You have sex almost every day? He says, almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday, almost on Wednesday. Uncle Norman was just a lovely man. He was the great uncle of Jacob Schwartz. And he really did love being here, and he loved the kids. And it was a lot of fun having Uncle Norman around. Here we have our roving fish tank. It's amazing. We actually have live fish in it. For many years we didn't. I decided actually that I wanted a waterfalls in the toy library, but our back down was a fish tank. And originally this fish tank had 2 layers. The top layer was kind of for lizards and other kind of yucky things, and the bottom layer was for fish. And then it was getting too much sun. It was getting too much sun in the toy library, so we decided to move it to the open area. And in moving it, the top tank sort of cracked, and David Campos ended up in emergency because he cut his wrist while moving the fish tank. So we had the fish tank in the open area for a while, and the kids kept on throwing balls and toys and everything else in it. So last year, a very serious group of people, Ken being the leader, decided they were going to move the fish tank somewhere where it can be appreciated and not kind of destroyed. And as you see, they're doing such a good job that all the fish are alive. Like, I still can't get over the fact the fish are alive. I have an obsession with purple. And so we were redoing the gym. We got an allocation of money to redo the gym. And they asked, what colors do we want? So, of course, I said I wanted purple. So they said, well, you can't have a full purple gym. So we had to find another color to sort of contrast it. So this red sort of orangey color was thought. So how did they get to paint it? In the morning, I think someone went to the Salvation Army and picked up people that worked for the day and brought them in. And so these guys painted for a day, and then the next day was a different group of people that came in and painted. So we have this beautiful, colorful gym. This room is notorious for causing many concerns and lots of parent involvement over the years. Many years ago, there was a leak coming from just here, and water was just streaming down here. And I said to Mario, who's the caretaker at the time, we have this terrible leak. So Mario lifted up the ceiling, and he's killing himself laughing. I mean, he's just hysterical. And I said, well, what's the matter, Mario? He said, last time they fixed the leak, they just put a bucket there, and the bucket just overflowed. They had another leak, and we had people to fix it. And that's when I learned that the board has this rule that a person can only be on a ladder 15 minutes a day. So they couldn't go up and fix the leak because the leak would take more time on a ladder than was allowed in the agreement, the union agreement. So I thought that was hysterical, and I think I wrote a little story about the leak in the room and the bucket and the ladder. The playground. When I first came to Beverley, everybody was raising money for a playground. When I came here, the major attraction was this round thing that went around, and the kids would sit on it and they would spin, which unfortunately we couldn't put back in it. We had a gazebo, not quite as well built as this, and that was basically the whole playground. So we raised money for this playground, and we finally got the money. The board decided they were going to put in the playground for us, and it was quite the adventure. That playscape, the guys that decided to install it had the plans the wrong way. So what they did is that playscape was up, and around it was about a foot, like a slope. And so Stacy at the time said to them, "What, the kids are like lemmings? They're gonna fall into it?" And he said, "Well, those are the plans." And so we said, "They can't be the plans. Why would an architect put a playscape up high in a pit?" And they said it was the plans, they weren't gonna do anything about it. So Stacy went into the school and brought some ropes and bungee cords. And the guy said, "What are you going to do?" And we said, "We're going to tie ourselves to the playscape until you change it." And he said, "No." So he phoned the guy at the board and he said, "They're threatening to, tie themselves to the playscape. Do you think they'll really do it?" And the guy, David Percival, said, "Yeah, they will. We better change it." So they actually put it the right way and filled it in. And what they did around it, they put in this foam or rubber. And my friend Ernie was over, and it was just put in. And I said, "Let's go jump on it because it looks so soft." Ernie and I jumped on it. We went right down. They forgot to put enough rocks underneath to keep the rubber up. So that was another part that they had to redo. And then, of course, 15 years later, when was this? We don't have a year on it. 2008. In 2019, we redid the playground. This is our new playground. The old playscape is here, but it's a new gazebo. There was planters. Again, we're not so great with plants. The swings, and there's some climbing stuff on the playground. So the old playground, one of my funniest stories is over there is the gas line. And so they were removing something in the playground, and the worker runs in, and he had a really, really thick accent. I think he was from Newfoundland, and I didn't understand what he was saying, and I kept on going, what? So he went, I went, "Oh no, the gas!" We had to evacuate the school. So yeah, putting in the playground was a lot of fun. I have to admit, Sabrina's filming me here, but Sabrina came in and she got a new computer, and along with it she got this iPod thing, and she had a class of kids and she was just playing with it, and she said, "Hey, they really like it." And there was a program where you unrolled toilet paper, and for some reason the kids got really excited about unrolling the toilet paper. And from that moment that we all saw that the kids were excited about this, that iPads came into our lives and really changed the trajectory of the school and the way we thought about our students and their abilities to learn. And we also learned that iPads weren't the answers for our kids. They were one of many tools that they showed incredible capabilities in so many things, and we went away a little from just using iPads and explored environment and play and them as people. And the journey here has been incredible, and along the way I have met the most amazing parents, and I've learned so much from the parents of these kids. I've learned about unconditional love. If you really think that it exists with these parents and their children. And the torture also of having a child that is different and having to fight all the time for that child. What they've taught us is amazing. And I think I talk for the staff also. I think the staff would say the same thing, that the community, the parent community, has been absolutely amazing. We started very small, and we've expanded. I mean, I've had some incredible, Rob took his class to Niagara Falls and I went with them, and there was a group of 8 parents that raised money and spent a night out with their children, and I learned so much. I mean, nobody slept that night. All the kids screamed and were up all night, and that's what parents went through. They were up all night, and that's something I had never experienced before. I mean, I'd experienced not being up all night, but not because you're worried about a child and your child not sleeping. Amazing parent council meetings where people were passionate. Meetings where people were so honest about their lives and their what happens when they go out with their children and the problems they have with the medical system. And I am so grateful to everybody at Beverley because I have learned so much over the years, and I am who I am because I've been in contact with all these really amazing people. And I just want to end it on a story that I thought about. I hadn't thought about it in like 19 years, but my first parent council meeting, I had 2 male chairs. One was Ian Brown, the writer, and the other guy was Rod, and his last name escapes me. And we have this meeting, and we call this parent meeting, and it was wonderful. All these women came, mostly African women, and they came with their sandwiches, and they came with drinks, and what a great, kind of congenial atmosphere. And we started talking about how we were going to raise money. And Ian Brown looks at everybody, and Calendar Girls had just come out, and he said, well, why don't we do a new calendar? Well, that was it. I thought that the women's jaws had dropped at the table. It was like dead silence, someone was choking on the egg salad sandwich. And I waited about 10 minutes, and I remember just laughing hysterically. And Ian said, why are you laughing? And I said, because I want to be February. Nobody looks at February. So I've had many interesting parent council meetings over the years. And my last thing is I just want to thank all the staff. You've been incredible. I couldn't ask for better people to work with. I had my challenges, but they're no longer here, so that's okay. But no, seriously, there isn't a person that hasn't been in this school that I haven't learned something from, or haven't seen something that I haven't seen before, or seen a quality in a teacher that you go, that's so important. And one thing I always said about this job, it does not define you define your job. So as teachers, we defined ourselves in this job, and we were able to do things that many of us wouldn't have done if we were in another school setting. And so I'm so thankful to have had the best job in the TDSB.